Senator Bailey on the resolution.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Madam Leader, for always sponsoring this really important resolution to commemorate the life and legacy of one of our nation's greatest people. It's always an experience for me to do this because this is the commemoration of the first time that I spoke on the floor. I haven't stopped speaking much since then. But Dr. King meant a lot to a lot of people, and what he did lives through all of us. It lives through hip-hop artists. The pressure weighed a ton, it's getting too heavy. Had to inspire them again like I didn't already. This was the very first line on Nas's album, King's Disease 2, the song called The Pressure. And when I hear that song, I think about the struggle of Dr. King, and I think about the pressure that he faced on a daily basis. The scourge of racism, the pressures within the community. And I wonder, how did he carry on in such grace while inspiring so many people? So happy 93rd birthday, Dr. King. A reverse in the order of the tender age of 39 years in which you left this earth far too soon. And as I speak on this resolution every year, I think about, or I thought about how close I was to that age of 39 years old. And I wondered, what could I do in the scope of my own life, my own career, to even come close to what Dr. King did? Now, the gravity has hit me now that I am at the age of 39, the same age that Dr. King left us, and ironically enough, that Malcolm X left us. I've come to the realization that it's not about measuring what I can do as related to Dr. King. It is what I can do in my own capacity. It is what we can do in our own individual capacities. So I ask myself, as the sun rises each day and the moon circles the earth, I think about my favorite Dr. King favorite Dr. King's quote: life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? And I think about, what am I doing for others? What am I doing to be a better senator, to be a better father, husband, friend? And this day that we celebrate is a national day of service. Make no mistake about it, Madam President. The life and legacy of Dr. King can never just be brought to one word, but if we did have to distill it down to one word, I believe that word would be service. This unique national holiday, people from all walks of life, we flock to houses of worship, community centers, and yes, in this COVID-19 era, Zoom gatherings, to extol the virtues of Dr. King, to quote him, and to think about the life well lived that he had. But, sometimes, like, the goodwill of the holidays fades on January 2nd. Sometimes the good rhetoric and the good quotes, they seem to expire by some of the individuals who state these quotes. Maybe there's a Dr. King scorecard for some folks where they check a box and say a quote. And they say some things that they truly don't understand or don't believe, or that were in direct opposition to what Dr. King stood for. But maybe, you know what I thought, Madam President? Maybe I thought that they don't actually know what he stood for. And it's never too late to learn. Dr. King famously said, we must remember that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. The complete education gives one not only power of concentration, but worthy objectives upon which to concentrate. See, education is a part of learning. And learning is a natural process. I talk about my kids all the time. You're never too old or too young to learn anything. And as my kids attend school, my oldest, Giada, is in second grade now. My youngest, Karina, is in kindergarten. They've learned different things throughout the years about Dr. King. And with each level of education, it graduates a little bit more. And so I was talking to my daughters, and I was asking them, what did you learn, right? What did you learn this year in school about Dr. King? And Giada was talking about how she heard that I have a dream speech, but did you know, Dad, that Dr. King gave more than one speech? Yes, Giada, I did. I'd like to hear those someday. Well, maybe you'll get to hear them someday, Giada. She also noted that he fought for civil rights, and she knew where he was born and where he passed away and what he was doing when he passed away, that he was fighting for the rights for people, sanitation workers. My youngest, Karina, she's in kindergarten, and she learned that, simply put, Dr. King helped people, and he didn't want black people and white people to be separate. And it wasn't fair, in Karina's eyes, that black people and white people use different bathrooms. They should have been able to use the same bathroom, because if you had to go to the bathroom, it shouldn't matter what the color of your skin is. Things like that seem so simple. Those are things that we could not figure out as a society prior to the civil rights movement. So we think about learning. And even Dr. King's own granddaughter had to learn more about him. Yolanda Renee King, an incredibly well-spoken, incredibly articulate, incredible activist in her own right, she said that throughout her life, her parents told her that your family has done some really phenomenal work and that you're the granddaughter of really phenomenal people who changed the country and the world. And she didn't understand the significance of it until she got older, so she had to learn, right? She also said that MLK Day is not a day off, it's a day on, it's a day of service. And you have to go out and support those movements. And although you may not be old enough to vote, you're the future. You and your decisions determine the future of the world. Dr. King said in his Give Us the Ballot speech in May of 1957, "So long as I do not firmly and irrevocably possess the right to vote, I do not possess myself. I cannot make up my mind. It is made up for me. I cannot live as a democratic citizen, observing the laws that I have helped to enact. I can only submit to the edict of others. The denial of the sacred right is a tragic betrayal of the highest mandates of our democratic tradition." Learning. Now, I need to learn more every day. And I know about his great catalog of speeches, and I've listened to a great many of them. But each year, certain things stand out more to me. His final speech, "I've been to the mountaintop," it was far more than just a prescient speech that eerily predicted his sadly too soon departure from this earth. Dr. King said, "Well, I don't know what will happen now. We've got some difficult days ahead. But it doesn't matter with me now, because I've been to the mountaintop. And I don't mind. Just like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over, and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. And I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man, because mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." The speech was more than just that eerie forecasting of his too soon demise. It was a call for economic justice and solidarity. He called for a banking movement in Memphis. It was an understanding that in the collective there is great strength. And there's nothing that can stop the collective. We know he was fighting for sanitation workers, much like we fight for people that do for laborers now. Now, what did Dr. King see from that proverbial mountaintop? I can't opine on that. Well, I can't tell you, but I can opine on it. But I can imagine that from that mountaintop, what he did not see was a future of legislatures trying to make it harder for people to vote. I imagine it certainly wasn't a future full of political divisiveness. And I imagine it wasn't a world where people that would eventually quote him would in the same breath do things that are directly contrary to his dream that they so often invoke. I imagine he didn't see those things from that mountaintop, Madam President. 10,000 fools proclaim themselves into obscurity, while one wise man forgets himself into immortality. Not my words, the words of Dr. King. But maybe those who are willfully blind and who haven't learned yet, Madam President, they have a chance, an opportunity to learn. Because Dr. King said, I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word in reality. And as we know, the time is always right to do what is right. And that song, Pressure that I opened up with, it ends with the phrase, weight of the world, embrace the pressure. Dr. King had the weight of the world on his shoulders, and he embraced that pressure like few we have seen in the history of our nation. He embraced that pressure. It's a meaningful statement for all of us, but remember that pressure makes diamonds, and he was one of the diamonds of the civil rights era. And his legacy still shines to this day. May the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. forever shine. Thank you, Madam President.